The city lights blurred behind a veil of orange tears. Taehyung stood frozen in Jungkook's arms, the confession still echoing in his ears like the aftershock of thunder. I'm helping you because somewhere along the way, I started falling for you. He searched Jungkook's eyes for any sign of hesitation, any trace of the games Alex used to play. But there was none. Only raw honesty and that quiet intensity that made Taehyung's knees feel weak. You, Taehyung's voice cracked. He swallowed hard, fingers curling into the front of Jungkook's black shirt. You can't just say that. Jungkook's hand stayed gentle on his back, rubbing slow circles. I know, he murmured. And I wasn't planning to say it tonight. Not like this. His thumb brushed a tear from Taehyung's cheek. But I'm tired of watching you doubt yourself because of him. You needed to hear it. Taehyung let out a shaky breath that sounded halfway between a laugh and a sob. I'm a mess, Jungkook. I cry during storms. I flinch at phone calls. I still check my reflection wondering what's wrong with me that made Alex. Jungkook cut him off by pressing their foreheads together. Nothing is wrong with you, he said fiercely, voice low. You're kind. You're beautiful. You laugh like the whole room lights up even when you're hurting. And I see you, Taehyung. All of you. Not just the parts you think are easy to love. Taehyung's eyes fluttered shut. His heart was beating so loudly he was sure Jungkook could hear it. I'm scared, he whispered. I know. Me too. Taehyung pulled back just enough to look at him properly. You? What could you possibly be scared of? Jungkook smiled, small and vulnerable in a way that felt more intimate than any touch. Of moving too fast and making you run. Of not being enough to erase what he did to you. His voice dropped even lower. Of how badly I already want to kiss you and knowing you might not be ready. The air between them thickened again. That familiar, dangerous warmth. Taehyung's gaze dropped to Jungkook's lips for a second before flicking back up. His cheeks burned. I think about it too, he admitted softly. The rooftop, the bed during the storm. Every time you look at me like I'm something worth keeping. Jungkook's breath hitched. His hand slid to cup Taehyung's jaw with careful reverence. Then tell me what you want right now, he said. No pressure, just truth. Taehyung stared at him for a long moment. The street was quiet except for distant traffic and the faint sound of rain starting again. He felt exposed, raw, but strangely safe. He leaned in first this time. Their lips met, soft, hesitant, trembling on Taehyung's side. Jungkook stayed perfectly still for a heartbeat, letting Taehyung lead, before kissing him back with aching gentleness. No demand, no rush, just warmth and the faint taste of salt from tears. It wasn't fireworks. It was homecoming. When they pulled apart, Taehyung rested his forehead against Jungkook's shoulder, breathing him in. I don't know how to do this again, he whispered. You don't have to know everything tonight, Jungkook replied, pressing a kiss to his temple. We'll figure it out slowly, together. Back at the penthouse, Jaemin was waiting when they returned, sprawled dramatically across the couch with Yoongi. The moment he saw Taehyung's slightly swollen lips and flushed face, he shot upright. Oh my god. Finally, Yoongi snorted. Took you long enough, Jungkook. Jungkook ignored them both, guiding Taehyung inside with a hand on his lower back. He helped him out of the damp hoodie and wrapped him in a fresh blanket instead. Taehyung let himself be fussed over. For once, it didn't feel suffocating. Later, after Jaemin and Yoongi left, with many dramatic winks and threats from Jaemin, the penthouse grew quiet again. Taehyung stood in front of the floor-to-ceiling windows, watching rain streak down the glass. Jungkook approached from behind, stopping a respectful distance away. You can still sleep in the guest room if you want, Jungkook said softly. Taehyung turned around. I don't want the guest room. He walked forward and slipped his arms around Jungkook's waist, hiding his face in his chest. I want to stay with you tonight. Just sleeping, holding, nothing else yet. Jungkook's arms came around him immediately, strong and warm. Anything you want. They ended up in Jungkook's bed again. This time there was no storm as an excuse. Taehyung curled into Jungkook's side, one leg thrown over his, listening to the steady heartbeat beneath his ear. Jungkook's fingers traced lazy patterns on his back. Tell me something, Rael, Taehyung murmured sleepily. Jungkook was quiet for a moment. I haven't let anyone sleep here before, he admitted. Not like this. Not overnight. Taehyung lifted his head slightly. Why me? Because you make me want to be careful with someone for the first time. Jungkook's voice was rough with emotion. Because when I saw you falling apart in that club, something in me said protect him. And that feeling hasn't gone away. It's only gotten stronger. Taehyung pressed a soft kiss to Jungkook's collarbone. I'm going to mess up sometimes, he warned quietly. So will I. Jungkook tilted Taehyung's chin up for another slow kiss. We'll mess up together. The next morning sunlight filtered gently into the room. Taehyung woke up first this time, wrapped securely in Jungkook's arms. For once, there was no panic, no rush of shame, just peace. He traced a finger lightly over one of the tattoos on Jungkook's arm, following the ink lines. Jungkook stirred, voice husky with sleep. Morning. Taehyung smiled shyly. Morning. Jungkook pulled him closer, nuzzling into his hair. No regrets, none. Taehyung paused. But Alex is probably going to lose his mind when he finds out. Jungkook's expression hardened for a second, but his hold stayed gentle. Let him. I'm not hiding what this is. He kissed Taehyung's forehead. You're not a secret. You're not temporary. You're mine to care for, if you'll let me. Taehyung's heart fluttered. I think I'm starting to believe you, he whispered. Jungkook smiled, that rare, full smile that made his eyes crinkle. Good, because I'm nowhere near done falling for you, Kim Taehyung. Outside, the city kept moving. But inside the penthouse, two hearts were slowly stitching themselves back together, one careful, healing touch at a time. The morning after the confession felt like stepping into a new world. Taehyung woke up to the smell of coffee and the sound of soft humming coming from the kitchen. He stretched lazily in Jungkook's bed, still wrapped in the scent of the man who had held him all night. No nightmares, no sudden anxiety attacks, just warmth. He padded barefoot into the kitchen wearing one of Jungkook's oversized shirts that reached mid-thigh. Jungkook stood at the counter in grey sweatpants, back muscles flexing as he poured coffee. The sight made Taehyung's stomach flip. Jungkook turned and froze for a second, eyes darkening as they traced over Taehyung's bare legs. Morning, Jungkook said, voice deeper than usual. Taehyung blushed but didn't look away. You're staring. Can't help it. Jungkook set the mug down and pulled him in by the waist, pressing a slow kiss to his lips. You look good in my clothes. Taehyung melted into the kiss, hands sliding up Jungkook's chest. It was still new, still scary how easily his body responded, but it felt right. They ate breakfast together on the balcony, legs tangled under the table, talking about small things. Favorite movies, childhood stories, dreams Taehyung had buried under 2 years with Alex. Jungkook listened like every word mattered. For the first time in forever, Taehyung felt seen. But peace never lasted long when Alex was involved. It started with a phone call while Jungkook was in his home office. Taehyung was sketching idly on the couch when his old phone buzzed. Unknown number. He almost ignored it, but something made him answer. Hello, a familiar voice, cold and venomous. You think hiding behind G and Jungkook makes you safe? Taehyung's blood ran cold. Alex, how did you get this number? I have my ways. Alex laughed bitterly. I warned you. You always come back. But this time you've embarrassed me. Going around with that tattooed thug like some Stop, Taehyung whispered, voice shaking. You belong to me, Taehyung. I made you. Those clothes you wore, my money, that confidence. I gave it to you. And now you're spreading your legs for the first rich bar. The line suddenly went dead. Taehyung looked up. Jungkook stood there, jaw clenched, holding Taehyung's phone. He had ended the call and was now staring at the screen with murder in his eyes. How long has he been calling? Jungkook asked quietly. Too quietly. Taehyung hugged his knees. Just today. Jungkook knelt in front of him, gentle despite the storm on his face. You don't have to lie to protect him anymore. Taehyung's eyes filled with tears. I didn't want to ruin our morning. You could never ruin anything. Jungkook cupped his face. He crossed the line. I'm handling this. Jungkook, I won't hurt him physically, Jungkook promised, though his eyes said otherwise. But he needs to understand you're off limits. Forever. Alex stormed into the lobby like he owned the place, designer shoes clicking against marble. I demand to see Ji and Jungkook. Security moved to block him, but Jungkook's voice echoed from the upper level. Let him up. Alex smirked victoriously as he rode the private elevator. He had photos, messages, enough dirt to ruin Jungkook's perfect image. He would drag Taehyung back where he belonged. The elevator doors opened to Jungkook's top-floor office. Jungkook sat behind his massive desk in a tailored black suit, looking every inch the powerful billionaire. Yoongi leaned against the wall with crossed arms. Two lawyers stood silently nearby. Alex laughed. Lawyers? Scared already? Jungkook didn't smile. I'm not here to chat. I'm here to remind you that Taehyung is mine. You will stay away from Taehyung. Jungkook interrupted, voice ice cold. No calls, no texts, no accidental meetings. You will delete every photo you have of him. You will sign the NDA my lawyers prepared. Alex's face twisted in rage. Or what? Jungkook leaned forward, eyes dark. Or I destroy everything you've built. Your company, your reputation, your family's investments. I've already frozen 3 of your major accounts this morning. Keep pushing and I'll make sure you never work in this country again. Alex paled. You're bluffing. Yoongi snorted. He really isn't. Jungkook stood up slowly. You treated him like property. You broke him down until he believed he deserved nothing. I'm telling you now, he is mine to protect. And I protect what's mine. The silence was deafening. Alex looked between the lawyers and Jungkook's unflinching gaze. For the first time, real fear flickered across his face. He snatched the NDA papers with shaking hands. This isn't over, he spat. It is, Jungkook said calmly. Walk away, Alex, or I'll make sure you have nothing left to crawl back to. Alex signed. When he was finally escorted out by security, Jungkook exhaled and rubbed his face. Yoongi clapped him on the shoulder. You went full mafia mode. Hot. Not the time, Hyung. Taehyung paced anxiously until the door opened. The moment he saw Jungkook, he ran straight into his arms. Is it done? He asked against Jungkook's chest. Jungkook hugged him tightly. He won't bother you again. I made sure. Taehyung pulled back, searching his face. You didn't do anything illegal, right? Jungkook smiled softly. Just business. Legal business. Mostly. Taehyung let out a watery laugh and kissed him hard. This kiss wasn't hesitant. It was grateful, needy, full of everything he'd been holding back. When they broke apart, Taehyung's eyes were shining with determination. I want to do something, he said firmly. For myself. And for us. Jungkook raised an eyebrow. Anything. Taehyung took a deep breath. I want to move my things out of Alex's mansion. Officially. And I want to stay here. With you. Not as a guest who's healing. As your boyfriend. If you'll have me. Jungkook's entire face lit up. That rare, breathtaking smile appeared as he lifted Taehyung off the ground, spinning him once before kissing him deeply. Yes, he whispered against Taehyung's lips. Yes. They celebrated quietly that night, takeout on the couch. Jungkook feeding Taehyung strawberries, still not heart-shaped. He insisted. Soft kisses that grew longer and deeper. At one point, Taehyung straddled Jungkook's lap, hands in his hair, breathing uneven. I'm not ready for everything yet, he whispered, cheeks flushed. But I want more. Slowly, Jungkook's hands settled respectfully on his waist, thumbs stroking gently. We go at your pace, he promised, voice husky. Always. Taehyung kissed him again, deeper this time, letting himself feel wanted, safe, loved. Later that night as they lay in bed, Taehyung tracing Jungkook's tattoos in the dark, he spoke softly. Thank you for fighting for me. Jungkook kissed his forehead. I'll always fight for you. But you're stronger than you know, Tae. One day you won't need me to. Taehyung smiled against his skin. I think I'm starting to believe that too. Outside, the city lights glittered peacefully. Inside, two hearts were no longer just healing, they were building something real. The mansion looked colder than Taehyung remembered. Standing in front of the towering gates with Jungkook beside him felt surreal. 2 years of his life had been spent behind these walls, waiting, hoping, shrinking. Now the place felt like a museum of someone else's pain. You don't have to go inside, Jungkook said quietly, one hand resting protectively on Taehyung's lower back. My people can pack everything. Taehyung shook his head, fingers tightening around Jungkook's free hand. I need to do this. To close it properly. Jungkook searched his face for a long moment, then nodded. Then I'm right beside you the entire time. They walked in together. The staff stared openly. Whispers followed them through the marble halls as Taehyung directed which clothes, paintings, and personal items to take. Every designer piece Alex had bought him felt heavy now, like chains disguised as gifts. When they reached the bedroom, Taehyung paused at the walk-in closet. Jungkook stayed by the door, giving him space but staying close enough to intervene if needed. Taehyung pulled out a particular black silk shirt Alex had loved seeing him in. I used to wear this and feel beautiful, he said softly. Now it just reminds me of performing for him. Jungkook walked over and gently took the shirt from his hands, folding it and setting it aside. You don't need his clothes to be beautiful, he murmured, pulling Taehyung into his arms. You're breathtaking in my hoodies, in my shirts, in nothing at all someday, when you're ready. Taehyung laughed wetly and buried his face in Jungkook's neck. Stop making me emotional in my ex's house. Can't help it. They left most of the expensive gifts behind. Taehyung only took his own artwork, some books, photos with Jimin, and a few sentimental things. As they loaded the last box into Jungkook's car, Taehyung looked back at the mansion one final time. Goodbye, he whispered. Jungkook kissed his temple. Hello to something better. The charity gala was high profile, exactly the kind of event Alex used to drag him to as arm candy. This time, Taehyung walked in on Jungkook's arm, nervous but determined. He wore a deep burgundy suit that Jungkook had personally chosen for him earlier that day. Tailored perfectly, elegant but comfortable. Jungkook matched him in all black, tattoos peeking from his cuffs, looking every bit the powerful billionaire he was. The moment they entered the ballroom, cameras flashed. Whispers exploded. Isn't that Kim Taehyung, Alex's ex, Jian Jungkook, with a man? Jungkook's hand stayed firm on Taehyung's waist, thumb stroking soothing circles through the fabric. He leaned down to whisper in his ear. Eyes on me, baby, only me. Taehyung's cheeks warmed at the new endearment. He nodded, squeezing Jungkook's hand. They moved through the crowd together. Yoongi and Jimin were already there as moral support, Jimin dramatically fanning himself when he saw them. My god, you two look illegally hot, Jimin declared, pulling Taehyung into a hug. The way Jungkook is looking at you should be illegal in several countries. Jungkook smirked. Not wrong. Throughout the night, Jungkook never left his side. He introduced Taehyung proudly, not as a friend, not as someone temporary, but simply as Taehyung, my boyfriend. The words made Taehyung's heart soar every single time. During a quiet moment on the balcony overlooking the river, away from most of the crowd, Jungkook pulled him close. You okay? He asked, brushing a strand of hair from Taehyung's eyes. Better than okay. Taehyung looked up at him, the city lights reflecting in his eyes. I feel free because of you. Jungkook's expression softened into something deep and tender. He cupped Taehyung's face with both hands. You did this yourself. I'm just lucky enough to stand beside you while you shine. Taehyung's throat tightened with emotion. The words he'd been holding back for days finally rose to the surface. Jungkook, he took a shaky breath. I love you. The confession came out soft but clear. No hesitation. Jungkook went completely still, eyes widening slightly. Then the most beautiful smile Taehyung had ever seen broke across his face, raw, joyful, almost disbelieving. He pulled Taehyung into a deep kiss right there under the night sky, uncaring who might see. When they parted, Jungkook rested their foreheads together. I love you too, he whispered fiercely. So much it scares me sometimes. I've been falling since the night I caught you in that club. And I'm never stopping. Taehyung laughed through happy tears, kissing him again, slower, sweeter, full of promise. But happiness has a way of being tested. As they returned to the main hall, hand in hand, a commotion broke out near the entrance. Alex had somehow gotten past security. He looked disheveled, eyes wild with anger and alcohol. The moment he spotted Taehyung and Jungkook together, his face twisted. You think this is over? He shouted across the room. You stole him from me, Jian. And you, he pointed at Taehyung, voice cracking with rage, you're nothing without me. You'll crawl back when he realizes how pathetic you really are. Security rushed forward, but the damage was done. Cameras flashed wildly. Gasps rippled through the elite crowd. Taehyung froze, old fears clawing at his chest. But only for a second. Jungkook stepped forward, positioning himself protectively in front of Taehyung. His voice carried across the hall, calm, authoritative, and ice-cold. Alex, you were given one warning. This is your last. He turned slightly, addressing the room with quiet power. Kim Taehyung is my boyfriend. He is loved, respected, and off-limits. Anyone who disrespects him answers to me. Then, louder and directly to Alex, touch him, speak to him, or come near him again, and I won't be so polite next time. Security finally dragged a struggling, screaming Alex away. The entire hall was silent for 3 full seconds. Then someone started clapping. Others joined. Whispers turned from shock to admiration. Taehyung stepped up beside Jungkook, heart pounding but voice steady as he slipped his hand into his boyfriend's. I'm not going anywhere, he said softly, only for Jungkook to hear. Not now. Not ever. Jungkook lifted their joined hands and kissed the back of Taehyung's palm, right there in front of everyone. Good, he murmured, eyes full of love and fire. Because I'm keeping you forever. After the chaos, they lay tangled in bed. Clothes had come off slowly during heated kisses, but they stopped at boxers, still taking things slow, still careful. Jungkook held Taehyung against his chest, fingers tracing soothing patterns on his bare back. Today was a lot, Jungkook whispered. You were incredible. Taehyung smiled sleepily. We were incredible. He tilted his head up for another kiss, then settled back down. Outside, the city continued its endless rhythm. Inside, their new beginning felt stronger than ever, tested, but unbroken. 3 months later the penthouse had changed. It wasn't just Jungkook's anymore. Taehyung's paintings now hung on the walls, vibrant abstracts and soft portraits that caught the morning light. His sketchbooks cluttered the coffee table. A second toothbrush stood beside Jungkook's in the bathroom. The once sterile space had become warm, lived in, theirs. Taehyung stood on the balcony at sunrise, wrapped in Jungkook's favorite black hoodie, watching the city wake up. The scars of the past still existed, but they no longer defined him. Therapy twice a week, Jungkook's steady love, and his own quiet courage had slowly stitched him back together. Arms slid around his waist from behind. Jungkook pressed a kiss to the side of his neck, chin resting on his shoulder. You're up early, Jungkook murmured, voice still rough with sleep. Couldn't sleep. Too excited. Taehyung leaned back into him, smiling. Today's the gallery opening. My gallery opening. Jungkook's hold tightened with pride. I know. I've been telling everyone for weeks. My boyfriend is brilliant. Taehyung turned in his arms, looping his hands behind Jungkook's neck. The morning light painted gold across Jungkook's face, softening the sharp lines of his jaw and making his eyes look even warmer. I couldn't have done this without you, Taehyung said softly. You could have, Jungkook replied, brushing their noses together. But I'm really glad I get to watch you fly. They kissed slowly, unhurried, the kind of kiss that had become natural over the past months. Gentle in the mornings, deeper at night, always full of quiet reassurance. Taehyung had grown braver in their intimacy, but they still moved at his pace, and Jungkook never once pushed. The gallery was packed that evening. Taehyung's solo exhibition, titled Rebuilt, featured pieces that told his journey from darkness to light. Some were stormy and jagged, others were bright, hopeful, blooming with color. In the center of the room hung the largest piece, 2 silhouettes against a city skyline, hands reaching, almost touching. The title beneath it simply read Homecoming. Jaemin was dramatic as ever, already crying in front of one painting while Yoongi pretended not to be emotional. Their friends filled the space, some from Jungkook's circle, some new ones Taehyung had made through art communities. But the most important person never left his side. Jungkook looked devastating in a tailored charcoal suit, but his expression was soft every time he glanced at Taehyung. He introduced him to investors and collectors with the same pride he'd shown at the charity gala. This is Kim Taehyung, he'd say, hand on Taehyung's lower back. The artist. And the love of my life. Taehyung still blushed every time. Near the end of the night, as the crowd thinned, Jungkook pulled him into a quieter corner near the back. I have something for you, he said, reaching into his jacket pocket. Taehyung's heart stuttered. Jungkook, not that yet, Jungkook chuckled, reading his mind. He pulled out a small velvet box, but it wasn't a ring. Inside was a delicate silver necklace with a pendant shaped like a tiny paintbrush crossed with a lightning bolt. Taehyung's breath caught. The lightning is for the night I found you, Jungkook explained quietly. The paintbrush is for who you're becoming. I wanted you to have something that represents both parts of your story, the pain and the beauty that came after. Taehyung's eyes filled with tears as Jungkook fastened it around his neck. I love it, he whispered. I love you. Jungkook cupped his face, thumbs brushing away the tears. I have one more thing to say tonight. He took a small step back, then slowly lowered himself onto one knee. Taehyung's hands flew to his mouth. Jungkook, I know we're still healing. I know we're still learning each other every day, Jungkook said, voice steady but eyes shining. But I don't want to spend another chapter of my life without promising you forever. When you're ready, 6 months, a year, whenever, you'll tell me. And I'll be right here, on one knee again, asking you to marry me properly. He pulled out a second, smaller box and opened it. Inside was a simple silver band with a single tiny diamond embedded like a star. This isn't an engagement ring yet, Jungkook continued. It's a promise ring. A symbol that I'm yours completely, no matter how long it takes. I'm not going anywhere, Taehyung. I'm staying right beside you through every sunrise and every storm. Taehyung dropped to his knees too, right there on the gallery floor, and kissed him fiercely, the necklace pendant pressed between their chests. Yes, he breathed against Jungkook's lips. To the promise. To everything. I want forever with you. They stayed like that for a long moment, two hearts beating in sync, surrounded by the art of Taehyung's healing. Later that night, back in their penthouse, they lay tangled in bed. Clothes had been shed slowly, reverently. For the first time, they made love slow, careful, full of whispered affirmations and gentle hands. Taehyung felt safe, cherished, desired without fear. Afterward, Jungkook held him close, tracing the new necklace with one finger. No regrets, he asked softly, the same question he still asks sometimes. Taehyung lifted his head, eyes clear and full of light. Only one, he said. Jungkook tensed slightly. Taehyung smiled. That I didn't meet you sooner. Jungkook laughed, the sound warm and relieved, and rolled them so Taehyung was tucked safely against his chest. Outside, the city lights glittered like stars that had finally aligned. Inside, two broken souls had become whole not because they fixed each other, but because they chose to heal together.